I bought this in, I have an estimation, 83. Sound Warehouse, a now defunct Sound Warehouse on 15th and Peoria. And basically, if Starship didn't have it, Sound Warehouse did, and this was one particular Ray Charles album that Starship didn't have. Sound Warehouse was actually a little better at funk and jazz. They had a much bigger selection of jazz, R&B, funk, soul, i.e. non-white music, where Starship was zoomed in more on the KMOD crowd. They were more, AM radio, I think, oriented, which had more R&B on it. And so I bought this because it has, the ultimate, I forget how long it is, what I say, parts 1 and 2 combined. Oh, it doesn't tell me on here. It'll go in here. 6 minutes and 25 seconds. But if you notice, it's on electronically simulated stereo. Meaning they took a mono recording and split it up and added some echo to simulate stereo. I'm used to it. I'm an ugly American. I like capital U.S. Beatle records. Mono, the way the Beatles meant for them just doesn't sound right to me. I'm sorry, but after like, I think I was in my 30s when I finally heard the Beatles as they were supposed to be heard, and it just sounded flat to me at that point. Yeah, Dexter was the fifth or sixth Beatle. I was counting George Martin. But the thing is, I forgot to mention, so with this record that I bought new, the title is Do the Twist with Ray Charles. I don't know if I can get that. There we go, kind of. Do the Twist with Ray Charles. I always wondered what that was. And so what I realized was, this is the original pressing. This is the original record. It's Do the Twist with Ray Charles. There. It's on the old Atlantic label. I think this is the only one of those I've ever had. And it's mono. It's the same thing in mono. So apparently, the best I can figure is, so this was out, Do the Twist, obviously this is during the Chubby Checker period, so let's do the twist with Ray Charles now. Which somebody you don't think about dancing just for the sake that the man could not see, but I'm sure he could with the right partner. It's just not something you think of right off the bat. I'm sorry. And I don't see myself doing the twist with Ray Charles. So, and then you have the greatest Ray Charles. I don't see myself doing twist with any of them, but Chubby Checker possibly, because, why wouldn't you? Greatest Ray Charles, this is when they needed to come out with stereo, and so when stereos came out, everyone wanted everything in stereo, and that's when you see these rechanneled or simulated stereo records. I got rid of, I sold one of Billie Holiday on eBay. I still have the Buddy Holly's Greatest Hits, the Buddy Holly Lives album, where it looks like graffiti, and that simulated stereo collection of Buddy Holly. That was the cheapest, easiest way for my generation to learn who Buddy Holly was. Actually, now that we got through the Alice Cooper, we're through the bulk of it, so let's speed through. This is a simple one. So what I showed you earlier, I just recently got this. Like I said, it's Meet the Beatles. It's a second pressing, correct East Coast blue straight top inner sleeve. That's what came with it originally. And now in record collecting, there's the capital label, mono. Now these are becoming the inner sleeves are becoming a part of the value. You know, it's like I recently bought a copy of Head we'll talk about that was about $5 more, and because the inner sleeve was intact, it was a no-brainer, I'm afraid. So it's replacing this copy, which is the exact same copy, which also has the blue inner sleeve, but this has like, I don't know, 4 or 5 skips in it. It's absolutely worthless as a musical experience. As something to hang on the wall, it's pretty damn cool. As something to have in the library, it's pretty damn cool. It's the same thing. It's a second pressing West Coast blue or East Coast, blah 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 blah. More Beatles, but this is another thing you'll see in record collectors that are regular. This is my copy. Once again, I think I got this at a junk sale or something at a somewhere, and it's rubber sole. It's the Beatles, U.S. Capitol. You can see where I took a black marker and marked around on it there. I'm surprised it doesn't have stickers or mustaches on them or something. And I got this when I was probably 8 or 9. And, you know, it has a couple of skips, but it is the American rubber sole, which was different from the British rubber sole. This is actually a Japanese apple from 1976, and it's missing the ubi. And the Beatles, like, until you get to the White Album, everything's different or a little different. Even Sgt. Pepper has a slight difference from the American and the British. Rubber Soul's a different track listing, and I've always found the British to be rather jarring. Once again, I much prefer the American version to Rubber Soul than the British, what the Beatles planned for it to be. But I have both versions, and I have a nice clean mono version. I'll get a nice clean, American stereo, simulated stereo, whatever the hell it was. Almost done. Yeah. Sgt. Pepper. This is my copy. Well, my original copy didn't have a cover. And once again, something that was picked up at a garage sale or something. And my parents used to buy stacks and stacks of albums. I mean, it was unusual for my mother to go to a rummage sale and just name your price, how much for the whole thing, and bring them home. And they'd sort through them and give them away, and I'd take some. And yeah, my parents, it's a sickness that I inherited from my parents, and they inherited from their parents, and so on. But anyway, so this is an Apple version. After my rummage sale version had pops and skips in it, I got them to buy me this. It's a 1975 reissue. And it came with this, which is the cutouts, but, you know, it has tape stains where it's been up on the wall. It has a little bit of the tape left here. And your standard Sgt. Pepper, excuse me, too much tea, too much dry mouth. And last but most definitely not least, yay, here's an old friend. It's such an old friend that you may have seen. I just took it out of a bag, and it's in another bag. That's how important this album is to me. This is the first album I went into a record store and bought. This very album, this very copy. And you'll notice it's damaged. I need to take that out. That's from a reissue. But, you know, it got water damage. But, yeah, this is the first album I bought on my own. When I was about 10 years old, everyone around me had records. My grandmother collected records. My cousin, who lived with us for a while, collected records. Both sides of the family had record collectors. Both sides of the family had audiophiles. And so when I was about 10 years old, I came down the steps one day and announced to my mother I was going to become a record collector, and she thought that was a good idea. But I don't think she thought it was going to turn into this. So we went to the record store in Pahuska. I thought for years that it was Bill's Tees Records, which was Bill's Tees was a record store here in Tulsa, based on the southwest corner of Harvard and Admiral. There's, I believe, a furniture store there. There was last time I knew. It's around the corner. The doors on the corner. It has this nice big phallic Art Deco, neoclassical, big old whatever it is thing on the door. Phallic symbol. I'm sorry, I don't know what I forget the term. Obelisk, I guess, or steeple. That's the term. It's a steeple. It's Oklahoma, by God. Anyway, I thought it was a Bill's Tea in Pahuska. I later was informed that Bill's Tea was never in Pahuska. So I think my parents just thought all record stores in Tulsa they referred to as Bill's Tea. So the record store was always referred to as Bill's Tea in my house, even though it was just, you know, Joe's Records or something. If anyone knows, I'd sure like to know what the name of that record store is. That's a bit of lost Pahuska. There aren't most of the record dealers from that, most record collectors I think are dead from that time. So recently, I bought this from my friend Jay Hancock, who's an extraordinary record dealer to begin with. Here, you can see what I'm looking at. This is Head, the soundtrack to Head by the Monkees. And it's, so I went to Bill's Tea, or I went to the record store in Pahuska, and I asked for if they had anything by the Monkees, and they said just this. And I looked at it, and you know, I'm looking at my face right here, and it says Head, and I can't even read this. You know, it's like, oh. And so I flip it over, and there's this picture of a monkey. Okay, I'll take it. And if you don't know Head, it's like Jack Nicholson was on acid. I'm not making this up. Jack Nicholson was on acid, and he wrote all these films for Roger Corman. The Trip. He wrote Head, and you know, he's in things like Psych Out, where he had a ponytail and he's the leader of a band, and he has to talk Bruce Dern out of you know, trying to kill people with a chainsaw while Bruce Dern's flipped out on whatever, you know. So it was quite a trying time for Jack Nicholson, and he was just about to be an easy writer, and he was just about to break out. So and there's also, I might add, a TV movie. This is getting kind of hard to talk. There's also a TV movie about the Monkees, and during the picture of, or during the period of where they're making Head, they have an actor who plays Jack Nicholson who just has that grin and is, you know, smiling with sunglasses on acid through the whole thing. That's the whole representation of acid, of Nicholson and acid in the movie. So Head was, as they said in that movie, an attempt of Jack Nicholson to film one of his bad acid trips as a film, as a child. And then he put together this album. Zappa's on it for like a snippet, but yeah, Zappa's in the movie for a snippet. He's talking to Davy Jones. Zappa's walking around with a cow, and yeah, we can show you the rest of the room here. There's my Andy Warhol, record things, record holders up on the ceiling, cow skull above me. So anyway, we need to do an infinity. I don't know if I can get that. Yeah, well, it's not, unfortunately, it's not sharp enough to do there, almost. So, anyway, so Nicholson put this thing together like Zappa did with all those montage early Mothers albums, like Freak Out, We're Only In For the Money, Lumpy Gravy, Absolutely Free, Uncle Meat, and Nicholson did that on here, and I think he did an honorable job. It's monkey songs mixed with montages. Bela Lugosi is sampled. Yeah, very strange album. And the what little extra music is by Ken Thorne, who also did the incidental music for Help. So anyway, I got this. This is the same pressing, only it's a beautiful, nice, clean copy. The album has some hairline scratches, but it has the Coal Gems original cover. And I mean, this is a very distinctive one because it has the five Monkees on albums on one. This is when the Monkees were no longer the Monkees. This is when the Monkees were like broken up, and then they became a trio when I think Peter Tork left, and then they became a duo when Nesmith left, and then at some point Peter Tork came back, and then Nesmith came back, and then Davey died, and but the flip was always interesting because you got like these soundtracks for Casino Royale, which is a pretty cool soundtrack. Burt Bacharach, Flying Nun, In Cold Blood, Lawrence of Arabia, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? That's an odd one. And Lewis and Clark Expedition. I've never actually looked it up to see if that was actually a band or if that was a soundtrack. But yeah, it was a bit. I've been needing a reissue, or I've been needing something. I just wanted something to you know, kind of fill in for that first album. Boom, there it was. So that's an idea of why a collector has more than one copy of a record. Now, you know, like I said, some people might get excessive about it. I try not to be too excessive because off the top of my head, this is all I can think of out of my albums. I have some 45s I definitely have more than one copy of, but not as many, I don't think. And even now thinking there's not a whole lot where it is, you know, where I can think that I have two of the same albums somewhere. So anyway, that's our chat today. Uh, uh, go on my channel, the Wilhelm channel on YouTube, like it, subscribe to it, and you can like it here too. But you know, find that we'll put it somewhere over here in the description or somewhere down here in the comments, however it works. So, all right, that's all for this time. We'll talk to you soon.